They say the safest place in the world is beside the person who loves you, and for a long time I believed that I really did. I believed it right up until the morning I realized the locks on the doors only worked from the outside, right up until I understood that the man sleeping next to me wasn't my protector at all. He was my jailer. And the wildest part is this. For almost 2 years no one noticed I was gone, not because I vanished, but because he made sure the world saw exactly what he wanted them to see. My name isn't important anymore. You can call me Claire. And the man who nearly erased me from the world, let's call him Nathan Hale. From the outside, Nathan was untouchable. Tech investor charity boards magazine interviews, that calm, confident smile that made people trust him instantly. And me, I was the wife everyone thought was lucky. Big house on the hill. Perfect life, no worries. That's the version people saw. What they didn't see was how small my world had already become long before the doors were locked. It started quietly, the way these things always do. Jokes about my job not really mattering since he made enough for both of us, comments about my friends being a bad influence, suggestions that my family didn't really get us. Nothing dramatic, nothing you could point to and say, this is abuse. Just enough to make you doubt yourself, just enough to make you shrink without realizing you're shrinking. By the time I noticed how alone I was already isolated enough that he was the only voice I trusted. You know what I mean? That slow erosion that feels like love at first. The day everything snapped started like any other. Coffee brewing, sunlight pouring into the kitchen, Nathan scrolling through his phone like nothing in the world could touch him. I asked him where he'd been the night before. Just a question. A normal question. He looked up at me with this calm, almost bored expression and said, "You're getting emotional again." That word again. I told him I felt invisible in my own marriage. He smiled, kissed my forehead, and said we'd talk later. He left for work. I went upstairs, and when I tried to come back down, the door wouldn't open. At first I laughed. I actually laughed. I thought it was a prank or a malfunction. Then I checked my phone. No signal. Wi-Fi gone. I tried the windows, but they only opened a few inches. Security upgrade, he'd said months earlier, for my safety. Hours passed. By evening, panic set in hard. When footsteps finally came down the hall, I ran to the door, heart-racing relief flooding my chest. Until I saw it wasn't him. It was Marisol, the housekeeper, eyes glued to the floor, placing a dinner tray down like she was terrified of being seen. She whispered that Nathan told her to bring meals and nothing else. When the door locked behind her, something inside me went completely cold. The next day he came back, calm, polished, like he was checking on a piece of furniture he'd put into storage. I demanded answers, my voice shaking so badly it barely sounded like mine. He told me I was unstable, that I'd been embarrassing him, that I needed time to calm down and remember my place. Then he said the sentence that still echoes in my head, "Everything you have exists because I allow it." And just like that, my life was reduced to permission. That's when he told me about her, the other woman. Younger, carefree, no questions. He said he couldn't divorce me yet, the optics would be bad. Investors liked a family man. So I was going to stay upstairs quietly while he figured things out. When I said people would look for me, he laughed and showed me my own social media. Posts of me hiking, journaling, taking a mental health break. A stand-in, someone who looked enough like me from behind to fool the internet. My family thought I was on a retreat. My friends thought I needed space. No one came knocking because no one thought I was missing. Weeks blurred into months. Meals arrived 3 times a day. Clean clothes appeared. Everything I needed to stay alive. Nothing. I needed to be human. Nathan visited when he felt like it, usually to remind me how replaceable I was. He talked about vacations with her, about gifts, about a future that didn't include me. I stopped reacting. That bored him. And boredom, I learned, makes powerful men careless. I started paying attention, counting steps, listening for patterns, watching Marisol's hesitation grow heavier every day. I remembered who I used to be before I became his wife, before I was too sensitive, before my world shrank to one man's approval. I remembered I wasn't weak, I was just worn down, and worn down doesn't mean finished. The first year almost broke me. There were days I didn't get out of bed. Days the silence screamed louder than any argument ever had, but I forced myself to move. Exercise, routine, small acts of control. I told myself if he wants me to disappear, I'll do the opposite. I'll survive. The second year, the cracks started to show. Marisol lingered longer at the door. One morning she placed an old phone on my tray and whispered, 5 minutes. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped it. I called my sister. I told her everything in one breath, afraid the line would die. She didn't believe me at first. Nathan had prepared for that. He told everyone I was fragile, overwhelmed, taking time away. But I begged her to come without warning, to just show up. The next morning, I stood at the window and watched her car pull into the driveway. My knees gave out. I slid to the floor, crying so hard I couldn't breathe. The confrontation downstairs was chaos. Nathan tried to spin it, tried to say I was confused, tried to talk about privacy and care and concern. But the locks told the truth. The windows told the truth. Marisol told the truth. And once the truth had air, it didn't stop. Police reports, evidence, charges. The man who thought he was untouchable suddenly looked very small in handcuffs. Here's the part people always ask about. The revenge, the justice. He took a deal. Prison time, his reputation gone, his empire collapsed faster than I thought possible. And me, I walked out into the sunlight feeling lighter than I had in years. Not healed, not whole, but free. And freedom, I learned, is louder than fear. I rebuilt my life slowly. Therapy, new routines, learning how to make choices again without asking permission. Some days are still hard. Trauma doesn't disappear just because the door's open, but I speak now. I tell my story because silence is what men like Nathan depend on. They depend on us doubting ourselves, on the world preferring a comfortable lie over an uncomfortable truth. So here's my question to you. How many people do you know who look fine on the outside but are trapped behind doors you can't see? How often do we excuse control because it's dressed up as love? Tell me what you think. Was justice served, or was it too late? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share this story if it hit something real for you. And remember this. The most dangerous moment for an abuser is the moment the person they tried to erase remembers who they are.